Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. We'll be going right into our newspaper review where we'll be going through the front pages of our national dailies, and first off we're going to be starting with a Daily Trust. Boldly in front on the newspaper we have Mokwa flood, death toll hits 200, over 500 missing, which is on page 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper. You can grab yourself a copy and go through to see more updates on what is going on.
All right, now moving on to the next newspaper we have for you this morning. On the next paper we have for you this morning, let us take a look at Guardian. Boldly on Guardian in front. 97% of public varsities default in online visibility transparency order. That's there on Guardian. Still moving on, still on Mokwa flood. Over 1,000 still missing, 200 bodies recovered. NAF strike kills 20 bandits, 5 vigilantes in Zamfara. Amnesty International demands probe. Ribadu's warning against ransom payment to kidnappers as an editorial there on Guardian. And on 90% of public varsities default in online visibility transparency order. That's boldly in front. There are pictures to show several public varsities there. Still on Guardian, the lower part, PDP chides AGF as Oshu governors sues federal government for stopping council's allocation. And 16 years after meltdown, NGX market cap surges by 347.5%. On 2027, PDP's internal crisis worsened as WK George trades words. All right, now coming to the picture there, you would see Managing Director Nigerian Insurance Trust Fund. There's an award ceremony thingy going on there. Natasha's denial of sexual harassment allegation against me, an afterthought, says a mockery. Find that on page 5. And over 950 southeast locations occupied by bandits, herdsmen, kidnappers. Well, those are the stories we have on the front page of Guardian. Do also grab yourself a copy and keep yourself informed.
Next up, we have This Day newspaper. Boldly in front, we have Presidency Tinubu's diplomatic shuttles have attracted $50 billion FDIs in 2 years. On the bottom, it says President made 36 foreign trips across Asia, Europe, Africa, Middle East, and the Americas. At the top, we have Wiki, an asset to Tinubu's second-term bid, and blast Amechi for trivializing hunger. That is continued on page 9 of This Day newspaper. On the top, we have Obi. Niger flooding is a tragic reminder of our shared humanity. That is on page 9 as well of This Day newspaper. We have NACOP seeks fresh power tariff hike despite 230% surge for select customers. Down below, we've negotiated 300% pay rise for members, says Pengasan. That is on page 5 of This Day newspaper. And the picture depiction that we have there, we have Tinubu receives Wole Soyinka, the Nobel laureate. And that is all we have on This Day's newspaper. Make sure you grab yourself a copy so that you can stay updated.
All right. Well, those are the few stories or the few papers we'll be taking this morning. Now back joining us to take a look at some of the stories and analyze it with us this morning. We have Dr. Theophilus Abba, Program Director, Daily Trust Foundation. It's good to have you, Doctor. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
How was your journey here with the rain?
So, well, it's a positive complaint. Because when it rains like this, it's not you will not be comfortable, but then you know that the weather is better. Yeah, you can put on something that I'm putting on like this now without being afraid of heat and things like that. So
yeah,
indeed. All right, Doctor, Mokwa flood. The death toll has hit over 200, and we still have 500 missing. the rains are back, the floods are back. There was one time we spoke about it and we said predictions don't equate preparedness. What do you foresee now that the rains are back? We're already started with Mokwa already.
Okay, well, actually, it's quite unfortunate that this is happening in Mokwa, because Mokwa is, I think, is like the gateway between, between Ilorin and Niger. You know, you must pass through Mokwa, and I remember there was a problem some years ago, maybe 3-4 years ago, the same issue, flood. You know, the bridge was washed away, and the vehicles had to pass through Lokoja, you know, to come to Abuja. So that road was totally cut off. And so there was a very serious hold up in Lokoja that for days, you know, here somebody is coming to Abuja and in two days he will tell you that he was still at Lokoja, he cannot cross. You know,
yes.
because of the long vehicles that were waiting. Some of them were broken down on the road and things like that. So it's been a very difficult, you know, it's quite difficult what's happening to us now. If that road is bad, we always have an issue. But the tragedy about Mokwa, unfortunately, is that it's something that we knew would happen. Because every year when there's flood in Nigeria, Mokwa will not be spared.
Yeah.
You know, and yesterday I went to the procurement portal to say, okay, what has government done in Mokwa in the last 2 years, 2024, 2025? And I noticed that, you see, all the expenses in Mokwa were about street lights, solar street lights. There were about 19 items in 2024. You know, only one was about an embankment. You know, maybe there is a river that they tried to do an embankment on. Apart from that, there was no other thing. You see street light, then you see, I don't know what road safety is doing in Mokwa, because you see so many expenses, you know, procurement done by road safety for Mokwa. And then even this year, so between 2024 and 2025, the projects related to this that have been, executed in Mokwa are just 3. You know, there is one dam. It's not a dam. It's just a reconstruction of a drainage. Yeah, the drainage reconstruction. Then they talk about one embankment, and then that is all.
That's all.
So you know that this problem will come. Definitely it will come, because there's no way you can say that area that is prone to flood, there won't be flood any year. There's no year there's been flood in Nigeria that Mokwa is not affected. But what have we done over the years? We just think that, maybe this year will not be better. And when I does this prediction, we say there's going to be flood, relocate. Now, how do you relocate people who are strong? You know, it is their home, it is their life. One thing about land is that land is not just a place you live, it is part of you. So when somebody say relocate, well, relocate to where? You must do something about it. You see, we are not the only people that are prone to flood. You know, even here, I mean, the rivers we have is not like what you have in some other parts of the world. And you see, in other parts of the world, they take care of these things. You know, you build flood-resistant homes, you know, and if you know that a place is prone to flood, you find a solution. You know, one of the solutions that was discussed in 2012 was that, you see, we should have dams, very big dams, where this water can flow in. The reason why you have this flooding is because the waters are quite shallow. You understand? So after some meters, it will overflow. But if you dig deeper, you know, and excavate, and then we have dams that can collect this water, you can use water to farm. We've been saying this over and over again. I think there was a time we're talking about some billions that Jonathan even set aside for such a thing, but it never happened. Now this is coming. 200 is not a small number.
500 still missing. Some people are saying 1,000.
Because you see, if you have communities that are living close to the river, because the farm, Mokwa is an agrarian community. They farm a lot. Actually, I did my youth service in Mokwa so many years ago. So I know I have been to their farms. Them. And you need that water to be able to do it. So you can imagine people living close to, water, and then everybody washed away.
We can all agree, Doctor, that the proactiveness of a state government, especially towards issues like this. Like I said, before we came on this, I was talking about this earlier, I made mention, we'll still find cholera outbreak happening again. Not to be negative, but it is what we're seeing happening.
It is an issue that is recurring, and in some situations, instead of looking for a prevention to make sure that those loss of lives, those loss of property as well is reduced, why do you think that it is not held from the get-go and made sure that things are being done, put in place for those things to not happen?
Okay, let me start by saying that, you see, I blame the National Assembly. I don't know the senator representing Mokwa. I don't know the House of Representatives representing Mokwa. You understand? I don't know. And I don't think among the budget 6.9 trillion that they padded, I don't think anybody thought about the bridge in Mokwa. You know, if you look at what the content of those contracts, the ones that they padded, that's 6.9 trillion, it may just be street lights. What do you call it? A well, or I mean, a borehole, you know, and things like that.
Or other bridges that are not needed.
They're not that are not important, because if you said, okay, this Mokwa flood has to stop this year, all you have some members from Niger come, all you senators from Niger come, let us make a presentation. Let it be in the 2025 budget to build that bridge that is always breaking, that water that is always overflowing. Let's do something about it. If they had taken it seriously and they had said, okay, let's deal with this flood, because the IMF has predicted that there will be flood, and you know that Mokwa will be affected. But you are from Mokwa, you are representing Mokwa. You did not even feel that you should do anything. You waited until this has happened. Then you now take 200 bags of rice. You now take journalists to go and take pictures. I'm donating 200 bags. I'm the House of Rest member. I'm the senator representing this. We shouldn't be. We don't need rice. You have to repair that bridge.
All right.
You have to do a proper dredging of that water.
Right.
That's what we need, and it's not beyond what government can do.
All right, doctor. This stray bullet you just hit journalists like this now. It's a very, very hot stray bullet. So you will bank journalists and go and share rice.
Yes. All right. There's a particular story about insecurity whereby there's been another blood shed in Benue State where about 58 people lost their lives. What do you think about that with this particular issue, especially in Benue State, that has been recurring as well?
Well, it's quite unfortunate because, you know, the governor, I mean, the last time he appeared on a television program, he said that they were foreign fighters. You know, they were foreign fighters. And the argument has been that why would you allow foreign fighters to cross the border to enter into Benue and to come and kill? Most times, you know, we hear that there will be intelligence reports, but the security agencies may not be, I mean, they may not even value the report. They will say, these people, they keep talking. They are always looking for trouble. Why are they talking about it? So, I'm like I've said before, there's need to find a local solution to what is happening in Benue. You know, recently the Tortif, you know, is it the Tortif? No, the one thief organization said they didn't want any harder in their community. You know, and then you hear some other say we don't want any harder. But then the problem is not the statement. It's not enough for you to make a statement. You know, it is to put up measures that will prevent this thing from happening. No, you just talk. The governor will just talk. The House of Rest members will just talk at the National Assembly. But then nothing on ground. You know, what is the preparedness? What are the measures to deter these guys from invading and killing people?
All right.
There's not much. And so I am feeling that, you know, we are looking at the insecurity more from the institutional perspective. That is, the government doing this or doing that. But these people who are coming, they don't think about government. You know, they have their own, they have their own crude way of doing it. And I'm thinking that you should meet them at the point of their operation. You know, if they have this approach to attacks, then we have to devise a means. Now you say, okay, you have what you call hunters. your vigilantes and all. Vigilantes, they don't have the kind of weapons that these guys have. If these guys are having so much, why don't we give vigilantes such weapons? Why don't we give whatever you call hunters such weapons? You know, as soon as they enter the community, everybody surrenders because they have superior weapons. You don't allow vigilantes to carry superior weapons. You don't allow hunters to carry weapons. But these guys killing them are carrying those weapons, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that's why we keep having this problem.
All right, doctor. Let's move away from that now. On this day, the story that picked our attention, it says, Tinubu's diplomatic shuttle have attracted $50 billion of foreign direct investment in 2 years. Now, if there's one thing we're going to be really honest about is anytime President Tinubu is traveling, especially for business meetings, he goes with technocrats, he goes with people who are relevant in that field. So what do you make of this? Is this a defense of the foreign shuttle, or are we seeing this $50 billion direct investments coming and making any impact in the lives of Nigerians?
Well, when I discuss foreign direct investment, I look at it comparatively. You know, if Nigeria got $50 billion, what are the other countries competing with us getting? And in what sector? You know, if the direct investment is maybe buying shares, maybe Dangote shares, because you know that Dangote has a refinery, Dangote has a cement factory. If they are putting this money in Dangote, in buying Dangote shares, how much impact is it making? Because the kind of FDI that we need in Nigeria is one that they come and put up factories and employ people. You know, if you are buying shares, I've not read the story. I don't know the content of the FDI. But if they bought shares of companies, of course, it's not reliable. Because as soon as there's any indication that the share is going down, they will put their money. You just throw them. Because you know, if you are buying shares, you will not want to. As soon as you know that something negative is happening in that company, you know, you just say, oh no, I don't. This company is having issues now. If they have a director that comes up with a policy that you don't like, you just put your money out. So FDI that is actually purchase of shares, you know, I don't think that is what we should be too proud of. Even though it boosts the stock market, but then it's not something that can be really. We want FDI that has to do with setting up factories. You know, like if you look at China, what is China doing that is making it different? It's not about buying shares on the Chinese stock market. It's actually about setting up factories. Americans have gone there to set up factories to produce. Chinese are employed. If you go to, the other countries that are actually doing it, if you go to Turkey is actually becoming another economic power, you know, because they are producing a whole lot and shipping to other parts of the world. So if you look at it, we actually need industries. You know, if you have a vehicle manufacturing plant in Nigeria, it will create jobs. It will reduce the cost of buying vehicles. Because now if you want to buy a vehicle, you have to pay $1. What you pay to get a vehicle in Nigeria is more than what an American will pay. You understand? But if you have a place where vehicles are produced, you have pharmaceutical companies, you know, who can produce some of the drugs that we need. You know, it will be better for us. So this FDI that has to do with people buying shares on the stock market, I don't think I'm really impressed about it.
All right, let's look at this outrage that just happened. Wiki said he's an asset to Tinubu's second-term bid and blasphemed you for trivializing hunger because at the end of the day, during a celebration of his birthday, there have been comments on weaponizing hunger. So what do you think about this Wiki's outburst, saying that he's an asset to Tinubu's second term, even though there's speculations that he still isn't fully on board on the APC, he's still lagging and latching on PDP as well?
Well, I think in Nigeria's politics today, you know, Wiki is a factor to be really studied. You know, when you belong to PDP and there's crisis in PDP, and you are in the APC and all this, so it's a topic to be really studied, you know. But the fact is that if he says it's an asset to Tinubu, of course, he has done a lot of good work in Abuja, for instance, and I think it is very obvious. Some of the projects that have been abandoned over the years, some of them we thought would never be completed. You see them springing up and all this and all that, and even if he has an advantage, that gives him access to Tinubu and makes releases easier for him. But there's a measure of pragmatism that we have seen in Abuja. You know, some of the so many projects, very interesting projects, very impressive projects. So if you say it's an asset, if Tinubu was saying that he hoped that in 2027 FCT will vote for him. APC has never really won in Abuja before in the FCT, so we're expecting that perhaps what he has done, people can say, okay, well, let us vote for Tinubu because of that. But then we also have issues with Wike. The politics in Rivers State, we're not really very happy about it. And then what is happening in the PDP, we are not really. In fact, was it not about last week or so that they went to seal up the PDP secretariat over ground rent? And if you're a member of the PDP, if you say the ground rent is about 8 million, that's what they say. You can just write it off and say, no, this is my party. Let me just pay that 8 million and not embarrass them. Instead them to go and. So I think Wike needs to be understood. I don't know, because we need to study him and understand his politics. Because he's not there, and his contradictions here and there.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Theophilus Abba, for being here and helping us review today's dailies. And with that, unfortunately, we would have to come to the end of today's show. Make sure you catch up with us tomorrow morning by 8 a.m. for another round of Daybreak on Trust Television. Thank you for being with us. I am Hawa Adamu Kiawa.
And I am Lilian Ogazi. Thank you so much for sticking around. At the top of the hour, we're going to be having sports, and we'll also have business and more news updates. So still stick around on Trust TV. We'll have a lot more packed for you. But my name is Lilian Ogazi. Bye for now.